Admiral Chester William Nimitz was one of the most important naval commanders in American history, particularly known for his leadership in the Pacific Theater during World War II. Below is a comprehensive overview of his life, career, and legacy. Early life: born February 24, 1885 place, Fredericksburg, Texas, USA. Heritage, of German descent family, raised by his mother and grandfather after his father died before he was born. His grandfather, a former merchant seaman, greatly influenced his interest in naval life. Here is a more detailed look at the early life of Admiral Chester W. Nimitz. Early life of Chester W. Nimitz. Birth and family background. Full name: Chester William Nimitz. Date of birth: February 24, 1885. Place of birth: Fredericksburg, Texas, USA. Heritage: German-American Chester. Nimitz was born in a small German-speaking community in the Texas Hill Country. His paternal grandfather, Charles Henry Nimitz, had immigrated from Germany and was a former seaman who became a respected local businessman and hotel owner. Father's death: Chester's father, Chester Bernard Nimitz, died before he was born, likely due to complications from tuberculosis. This left his mother, Anna Henke Nimitz, to raise him and his younger siblings. Influence of grandfather: Chester grew up under the strong influence of his grandfather, Charles Henry Nimitz, who had served in the German Merchant Marine and later became a captain in the Texas Rangers. His grandfather told young Chester, "The sea, like life itself, has its storms, but you must learn to navigate through them." This maritime legacy left a lasting impression on young Chester and helped inspire his future naval career. Education and early aspirations: Fredericksburg was a rural town with limited opportunities, and Nimitz originally planned to attend West Point to pursue an Army career. However, no appointment to West Point was available at the time. A local congressman instead offered him a spot at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. Chester accepted, despite never having seen the ocean before. Naval Academy. Entered. 1901, graduated 1905, 7th in his class out of 114. Known for his discipline, intellect, and leadership, Nimitz excelled at the academy. He would later be known for his calm demeanor and sharp analytical mind, traits developed even during these early years. Education and early naval career: U.S. Naval Academy. Graduated in 1905. Ranked 7th in his class of 114 to early assignments. Served on early submarines and battleships. Became a pioneer in submarine warfare and diesel engine development. Rose through the ranks with a reputation for innovation and competence. Education and early naval career of Admiral Chester W. Nimitz. U.S. Naval Academy, 1901 to 1905. Appointment. In 1901, Nimitz was appointed to the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, through a Texas congressional nomination. Age: he was only 15 years old when he entered. Academics: excelled in mathematics, navigation, and engineering. Known for being serious, disciplined, and mature beyond his years. Maintained a strong academic record, graduating 7th out of 114 in the class of 1905, early sea duty, 1905-1913. Upon graduation, midshipmen were required to serve 2 years at sea before being commissioned. Nimitz began his sea service aboard battleships and cruisers. Key early assignments: USS Ohio, battleship in the Asiatic Squadron, USS Baltimore. Cruiser used to transport Marines to the Philippines, USS Ranger. Gunboat, where he gained command. Experience: USS Decatur, destroyer, where he served as executive officer. Notable incident: in 1908, while commanding the USS Decatur, Nimitz ran the ship aground in the Philippines. He received a formal reprimand, but was not court-martialed. This incident could have ended his career, but his overall competence and professionalism preserved his standing. Transition to submarine service, 1909-1913. Nimitz was selected for the Navy's new submarine program, a cutting-edge field at the time. Commanded several early submarines, including USS Plunger, A-1, USS Snapper, C-5, USS Narwhal, D-1. He became one of the foremost submarine experts in the U.S. Navy. developed technical skills, including working with diesel engines, which would become vital to future submarine designs. In 1912, he even injured himself cranking a diesel engine by hand, tearing a finger tendon, which affected him for life. Rising reputation, Nimitz quickly gained a reputation for technical brilliance, calm, clear-headed leadership, forward-thinking attitude about naval warfare and technology. Summary of early naval qualities by the time of World War I. Chester Nimitz had already commanded both surface ships and submarines, shown skill in engineering and navigation, survived a major early career setback, gained a reputation as a reliable, innovative officer. Interwar years World War I, served as Chief of Staff to the Commander of the U.S. Atlantic Submarine Fleet. Post-WWII helped modernize the Navy, particularly in submarines and engines. Held various commands including positions at the Naval War College and in the Bureau of Navigation, now part of the Bureau of Naval Personnel. Promoted to Rear Admiral in 1938. Here's a detailed look at Admiral Chester W. Nimitz's interwar years, the period between World War I and World War II, during which he steadily rose through the naval ranks and helped shape the modern U.S. Navy. Post-World War I assignments, 1919–1926. After World War I, Nimitz's experience in submarines and engineering made him highly valuable. 19. Appointed to lead the Navy's diesel engine section in the Bureau of Engineering, worked on developing and standardizing the use of diesel engines in submarines and larger vessels, became instrumental in advancing fleet logistics, propulsion technology, and submarine design. He also served in various training and staff roles, helping shape younger officers, Naval War College and strategic thinking, 1922–1923. Attended the prestigious U.S. Naval War College in Newport, Rhode Island. Studied naval strategy, logistics, and war planning. This education helped shape his later strategic thinking during WWII. Command at Sea, 1926–1935. Nimitz returned to sea in several significant roles. Executive Officer of USS Chicago, heavy cruiser. Commander of Submarine Division 20 and later other submarine groups. Promoted to captain in 1927. Later served as Assistant Chief of the Bureau of Navigation, where he handled personnel and training, key leadership development work for the Navy. Instructor and innovator, taught and mentored many younger officers who would later serve under him in WWII. Known for encouraging initiative, practical thinking, and technical competence. Overseas duty and Pacific experience, commanded the USS Augusta, a heavy cruiser and flagship of the Asiatic Fleet, early 1930s. Gained first-hand experience with the geopolitical situation in Asia and the Pacific, including growing Japanese aggression in China. This assignment gave him critical insight into future Pacific operations. High-level staff roles, 1935–1939, returned to Washington, D.C. to serve again in the Bureau of Navigation, in charge of officer assignments and personnel. By 1938, promoted to Rear Admiral, took over command of a cruiser division and then Chief of the Bureau of Navigation by 1939. Summary of the interwar years. During this period, Nimitz rose steadily through the Navy's ranks, proved himself as both a technical innovator and a strategic thinker, built an exceptional reputation for calm leadership, attention to detail, and long-term vision, formed relationships with many officers who would later play major roles in WWII, like Raymond Spruance and William Halsey. Here is a detailed account of Admiral Chester W. Nimitz's leadership during World War II, focusing on his role as Supreme Naval Commander in the Pacific Theater, one of the most important military commands in U.S. history. Chester W. Nimitz in World War II, Supreme Naval Commander, Pacific Theater, 1941–1945. Context: after Pearl Harbor, December 7, 1941. Japan attacks Pearl Harbor, crippling much of the U.S. Pacific Fleet. The U.S. Navy was in chaos, and morale was low. December 17, 1941. President Franklin D. Roosevelt appoints Nimitz as Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. Pacific Fleet Kingpack. He officially took command on December 31, 1941. Leadership style and strategy. Nimitz quickly stabilized the Pacific Fleet with calm leadership, resisting panic and pushing for intelligent planning. Delegation of authority. Trusted capable officers like Raymond Spruance, William Halsey, and Mark Mitcher backed an aggressive but smart island-hopping strategy to retake the Pacific. From Japanese control key campaigns and battles won. Battle of the Coral Sea, May 1942. First naval battle in history where ships never saw each other, fought entirely by aircraft. Tactical draw but strategic U.S. victory halted Japanese advance toward Australia. Battle of Midway, June 1942, turning point in the Pacific War. Nimitz, using decrypted Japanese codes, ambushed the Japanese fleet. U.S. forces sank 4 Japanese aircraft carriers at the cost of only one. USS Yorktown crippled Japan's naval air power. Guadalcanal Campaign, Ayug, 1942, Feb. 1943, first major Allied offensive in the Pacific. Hard fought, but ultimately successful. Stopped Japanese expansion southward. Central Pacific Island Hopping Campaign, 1943-1945. Nimitz's forces bypassed heavily defended Japanese islands, instead targeting strategic positions like Tarawa, 1943, Kwajalein and Eniwetok, 1944, Mariana Islands, Saipan, Tinian. Guam enabled U.S. bombers to reach Japan, Iwo Jima, February 1945. Okinawa, Apar June 1945, last and bloodiest major battle of the Pacific War. Each victory brought American forces closer to Japan. ENCPOA, Commander-in-Chief Pacific Ocean Areas, gave him command over all U.S. and Allied air, land, and sea forces in the Pacific except in General MacArthur's Southwest Pacific area.